This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the Interception of Communications Bill is before Parliament, and the government believes that the ICB is a very important tool in the fight against crime. But the bill is being met with some opposition. Tonight, an attorney at law weighs in on the discussion. Attorney Constance McDonald is providing some much-needed clarification on the controversial Interception of Communications Bill tabled in the House of Parliament. McDonald says perhaps what many Bahamians do not know is that since 1972, the Listening Devices Act gave the Minister of National Security the authority to listen to conversations of a person who was suspected of criminal activity. She says this new bill only seeks to transfer that power from the minister to the judges of the Supreme Court.
Right now, the Supreme Court can issue warrants to have your premises searched if the police suspect that a crime is being committed. So the Supreme Court is also the guardians of the Constitution. If you have a constitutional motion, you go to the Supreme Court to do it. There was a case before the Privy Council which they were looking at the constitutionality of the Listening Devices Act, and the recommendation was that that act should be repealed and an Interception of Communications Act passed.
Now that this bill is up for debate, she says there appears to be a lot of confusion. However, she says the ICB will enable the police, with the permission of a Supreme Court judge, to lawfully intercept electronic communication of any kind, once certain clearly defined conditions are fulfilled.
In the Listening of Devices Act, Section 5.1 had said when the minister responsible for national security is satisfied that in the interest of the defense of the internal security of the Bahamas, then he may in writing authorize any person prescribed to for such period not exceeding 30 days to do certain things. Now what has to happen if this bill is passed is you now have to go to the Supreme Court, because under the bill a judge is a judge of the Supreme Court. So you have to go to the Supreme Court and you have to satisfy the Supreme Court judge. And that Supreme Court judge, once satisfied, will issue an order. That's the difference.
But she says with the current crime situation in the country, if the bill is passed into law, it could be beneficial to law enforcement. Experts advise that without this crime-fighting tool, drug trafficking, gun trafficking, and other transnational and gang-related crimes will increase, and the police will be hampered in their ability to detect, investigate, and prosecute suspects.
I believe that it gives it more legitimacy when you know that an order has come from a judge. Now, I understand persons are saying, oh, it's an invasion of privacy, it's an invasion of this, an invasion of that. But the law has always been where you suspect a crime is being committed, you can get a warrant to search anybody's premises. Now, of course, we living in an electronic age, so searching premises isn't sufficient. It may be that, because of the environment that we are now living in, you have to now have more progressive legislation.
With the general election looming, the local attorney says Bahamians should pay greater attention to facts.
One of the criticisms that I've heard is that they didn't send it to the lawyers to debate. But then they've been debating it in any event. I think it's our responsibility as officers of the court, when we have legislation like this, to have a public discussion on it so that the public itself could be educated, not coming from any particular political perspective, but just giving information to the public so they can make up their own minds.
The state of crime is now a concern for residents of Seagrape. That tight-knit community is distraught following the murder of a well-known resident for that area. Tonight, members of the Seagrape Association are appealing for justice in this case. Megan Shepard reports.
The quiet community of Seagrape was shaken after a resident was stabbed at her home and later died at hospital. Chairman of the Seagrape Association, Jerron Harvey, says residents were taken by surprise by this act of violence, and they are now calling for peace to return to the community.
As a matter of fact, most of the residents were unable to sleep the night of the incident, which prompted us to call the community prayer at 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning to pretty much pray for peace to reside and to reign, and of course for the residents to feel at ease, because this is something that we're not used to. The last murder that would have occurred inside the community of Seagrape would have been about 20 to 25 years, and I was a little boy at that time. And so this is not something that we are used to. The community of Seagrape is known for love, it's known for unity.
Chairman of the Focused Initiative, Natasha Carter, says she knew the victim, Margaret Smith, as a loving and happy person. Carter and Harvey say Smith was one whom loved her community and was very involved.
Margaret was a very jubilant person. She was a person that you can call any hour of the night and you would just meet her with a pleasant smile. What do you need me to do? She was that type of person. Very pleasant.
I've known Margaret as a child growing up, and she've always been a jubilant person, someone who didn't really keep much company, but she've always had a beautiful smile, and she has always been active whenever there's anything that we needed her to do, she was able to assist.
Carter says the community is hoping for a sense of normalcy to return.
After we would have closed this chapter in our lives, to move forward with some sense of normalcy as we always do, because Seagrape to us is near and dear, and we are in fact our brother's keeper. And this has put a wedge to some degree in us, put us at a standstill, but with God's help, moving forward, we should have a smooth process.
Harvey Ad said they are anxiously awaiting for justice in this case.
The community of Seagrape, like I always say, the hurt of one is the hurt of all, and the joy of one is the joy of all. And so there's no secret in the community of Seagrape. And I am certain that the residents are assisting the police on their investigation. And for anyone who might be reluctant to come forward and to share information, I appeal and I send a clarion call to please come forward.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Immigration officers taking a number of illegal migrants into custody in the Freeport area. 2 women from Ecuador and a Jamaican male were arrested for overstaying their time in the Bahamas. Reports say they were found hiding out in a house on the Ridge area. Officers also arrested 4 Haitian men who were found on a construction site in Caravel Beach. The 7 illegal migrants all appeared before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson. The 2 Ecuadorian females and the Jamaican male pled guilty to overstaying. They were convicted and fined $3,000 each, or in default served 2 years imprisonment. Deportation was ordered. Now, the 4 Haitian men pled guilty to illegal landing. They were fined $300 each, and in default, they are to serve 1 year at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Deportation was also ordered. Now, reports say the Haitian nationals were able to pay their court-imposed fines and are expected to be flown to the capital to await repatriation. Meantime, the 2 Ecuadorian women and the Jamaican male were unable to pay their fine and will be taken to New Providence to begin serving their 2-year custodial sentence. Switching gears now, the Grand Bahama Tourist Office, in partnership with the Grand Bahama Island Tourism Board, that is, hosting the USA Bahamas Tourist Office senior sales team to a 3-day familiarization trip of Grand Bahama. The team participated in extensive site inspections of hotel properties and attractions throughout the island. Tourism Minister, the Honorable Obi Wolshcombe, says it is critical for the ministry's USA sales and marketing team to know the product firsthand and to convey to all of Grand Bahama's industry partners that their USA sales and marketing team will carry their message to market as we continue to execute strategies. Now, he also says it is important to reconnect and re-engage with the travel trade and media and to provide opportunities for the Bahamas to reintroduce the brand of the Bahamas to target markets. Meantime, Director of Marketing Services with the Grand Bahama Island Tourism Board, Carmel Churchill, says the familiarization trip comes at a time when Grand Bahama is in urgent need of additional exposure to enlighten its consumers about the improvements to current hotel and attraction inventory, as well as to its rapidly expanding and diverse product offerings. Stay with us, there's more news right after this.